Well, Par, thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you.
Yes, and you are the owner of Old London Chimney Sweeps. Now, I'm sure
Yes.
that almost probably a high percentage of people, once they hear chimney sweep, they, especially if they're my age, they probably are taken back to Mary Poppins.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they got some obviously a classic movie that they redid, but chimney sweeps certainly, no doubt, back in the day, were a huge part of the society. They needed to happen. Um, Chimney sweeps, no doubt, is a little bit of a lost art as a result of the lack of wood burning fireplaces that we have these days.
Well, not really. Wood burning is coming back. There's a lot of people turning back to wood, especially with the economy and with the high prices of gas and electric now. So I'm installing a lot of wood stoves and fireplaces now. And in fact, I'm even ripping out gas fireplaces and putting wood burning in.
Are you?
So
Okay.
it's quite amazing how many there are out there. Um, there's not many sweeps about that are certified um, as well. But yeah, chimney sweeping has been going on for a long, long time. It's got quite a history behind it. In coming just south of London, the history is amazing. It's the first recorded instant of commercial deaths for children in history. Um, and it's also recorded in the Houses of Parliament, where they were discussing how often they should wash the children that the master sweep was in charge of, and how often they should bathe them a year. And the master sweeps were saying once a year is enough, and the Houses of Parliament were saying maybe 2 or 3 would be better. Baths a year, especially
That's
how they're covered in
crazy.
soot, and
Yeah.
they would sleep in that condition. It was a very hard life for little children. They would start from around the ages of 3. So the master sweep would go into a workhouse and buy the child off the parents and promise to feed them. And the first thing the master sweep would do would be to scrub their elbows until they bled and scrub their knees until they bled to form calluses, because the little chimney sweeps would have to crawl their way up the chimneys, the old brick chimneys, using their elbows and their knees to wedge themselves in as they crawl all the way up the chimney with a brush, and all the soot falls down over them. So they're covered in soot and they would work their way up to the top. And that's where we get the saying, "I'll light a fire under you," was what the master sweep would do. If the child wasn't going fast enough, they would actually light a fire. And obviously, quite often the child would die from the fumes. And that's where you get the recorded deaths, where you find little kids' bodies stuck up in the chimney where they've suffocated. Yeah, it's quite a gloomy
Oh my gosh.
history. Yeah, it's pretty harsh.
Yeah.
But three
That's
years
it's
old, you
so
can imagine a 3-year-old today and think, how does a 3-year-old go to work? And they're not short hours; they're like 12-hour days, and they
yeah.
have the master sweep, and they just sleep on Hessian sacks. They only maybe have one bath a year, and they're covered in soot
That's
24/7.
shocking. Okay, so like what years was that from, and then what
That's kind of
years
in the
was that
Victorian
outlawed
times.
then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if it was ever. It just kind of fizzled out, I suppose, with the turn of the times when they went to other forms of heating, oil and gas. But and then the chimneys kind of, they stopped using them so much. I mean, they still use them. There's still
Yeah.
sweeps in the UK now, but we have a bit more humane way of sweeping a chimney now with our power brushes and things like that, and we don't have to crawl up a chimney. And a lot of the
Okay.
chimneys in
Yes.
Canada are too small anyway, so you
Yeah,
just have a rod.
which is good because I was
Yeah,
going to keep my young children away from you in case you needed to get them to
yeah,
go to work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. Well, that's fascinating. That's something that
yeah,
I didn't know. Um,
yeah.
and so now you are saying that you are keeping like fairly busy with the wood burning fireplaces. I know that in the as a realtor, I do see wood burning fireplaces, and we have to bring in someone like yourself, a professional like yourself, to do a wet inspection. Can you walk us through what's all involved in a wet inspection?
Yeah, so typically a wet inspection is to just visually inspect everything and ensure that it's up to code. So for what we can see, so we're looking at things like the hearth, how close combustibles are to the sides, how close the mantle is to the opening of the fireplace. We're looking up the chimney to see if the damper works. We're looking up the chimney as well to see if there's any imperfections in the chimney liner or in the clay flue if it's a masonry chimney. And then we're looking from above as well on the roof,
Hmm.
the flashing or the state of the brickwork or the chase, and also rain cap if it's got one or hasn't got one. We're looking at the surroundings. We're looking at if there's any trees that are too close or any buildings that are too close, and
Hmm.
just checking that everything has kind of been installed as far as what we can see. Obviously, we can't see
Hmm.
behind the walls. That it's been done correctly to code, and that's all part of the wet training.
Right, for sure. And I also see like on your website that you guys sometimes have to do animal rescues in chimneys as
Yeah,
well. Is
yeah,
that?
quite often. Yeah, I've pulled out some live ducks, and magpie and a few little birds. Most of the time, when they've heard a noise, we get there a bit too late and the bird has already
Yes.
passed away.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's quite often a duck is quite difficult. Sometimes I have to take the whole damper apart and to get it
Yeah.
out because it's a bigger animal. Magpies normally they've been quite grateful because they're quite an aggressive bird, but they're
Yes.
quite grateful to be pulled out and let loose. So they're
Set free. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Well, I remember we had a farm, and I think that farmhouse was built in the early 1900s. And we every once in a while, a pigeon would go down the chimney.
yeah, yeah,
And this is going to make you cringe. I don't think we ever got. There was a few times we couldn't get them out ourselves, so we just kept
yeah,
the fire going and hoped that it
yeah,
would burn out eventually. So I
yeah,
imagine
yeah,
that makes you
yeah.
cringe a little bit when you hear stories like that, because
Well, no, we get
I was,
lots of dead birds when we clean out the chimneys. Yeah,
yeah, I'm
crispy,
sure you do.
crispy birds.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
no. What kind of radius do you cover? Are you,
Well, we
you
we
travel?
cover a very large area. So we go up to Lake Louise. We go down to Lethbridge, Didsbury, um, Olds. We cover a massive, massive area all around Calgary, Bragg Creek, Turner Valley, Okoto. We cover a massive area. Really,
For
really
sure.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, and just seeing some of your prices on the website, like for a wet inspection. So when someone's purchasing a place that has a wood burning fireplace, you need to get a wet inspection. I see the price on that is $350, and no doubt there's some
Yeah.
travel costs if you have to travel too far.
Yeah.
Also for the chimney sweep, I see that it's $170 plus GST, and no doubt travel on top of that, depending on how far you
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
travel. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also see a few other things on your website that you do. Do you do roofing services as well?
Yeah, yeah, roofing repairs because like my background's construction. I when I first came to Canada, I did a lot of roofing. Also coming from the UK with the older chimneys, the brick chimneys. Unfortunately, a lot of roofing companies have not passed on the trade for cover flashing around a chimney, which is the old way of doing the flashing. So a lot of the younger guys don't know how to do that, and we know how to do that. But yeah,
Hmm.
we do roofing as well. And obviously with installs, we've got to put flashing on the roof for the chimney pipe
Sure.
coming through. So we have to know what we're doing there and make sure nothing leaks. So yeah, we do that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And also some home renovations that you guys are in as well.
Yeah, yeah. We do bathrooms, just small renovations, bathrooms,
Yeah.
basements, stuff like that. It's just
Yeah.
kind of in the summertime. Obviously, chimney sweeping slows down a bit, so
Sure.
then we can hop on to something else just to keep the cash flow and things like that happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
One uh, interesting point that you make on your website, a service that you provide, is you also go to weddings.
Yes, yeah, that's another old English tradition that it's kind of, I don't know if it's folklore or actually in historical accounts, but apparently one of the King Edward or whatever was out in his horse and carriage, and he wanted to get out to walk for a little bit, and something spooked the horses. The horses were going to run him over, and a chimney sweep grabbed hold of him and pulled him out of the way. Now, in those days, if you touched the king, you would die. You weren't allowed to
Right.
touch the king at all, let alone
Right.
grab him and pull him out of the way.
Yeah.
So the king decreed that all chimney sweeps are good luck.
Okay.
So they started having chimney sweeps at weddings to kind of be there to bring good luck to the bride and groom. And they would have chimney sweeps. If ever there was a village event, they would have the chimney sweep at the front of the parade with a pig on a leash. And everyone would run up and pull the hair out of the pig for good luck. I'm sure the pig
Okay.
would feel it was very good luck for him. But it was
Yeah.
just basically the chimney sweep. When they were in town, people felt, oh, we're going to have good luck now. And so they would shake his hand or whatever. And in the UK, they don't practice it anymore. But in the States, they do, funnily
Oh,
enough, quite
okay.
often.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've done one wedding here in Canada,
Yeah.
and that was a steampunk theme. So I got all chains and spikes and cogs and
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
and kind of
Yeah.
adapted my top hat and tails to that wedding
Sure.
the way it was. So that was pretty neat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, no, it's certainly a point of interest, that's for sure. So, yeah, and it's a fascinating history, and sometimes you don't
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
know
Oh,
that
yeah.
there's such a interesting history when it comes to chimney sweeping. But what do you think about, I could go to, no doubt, go down to Home Hardware and I could buy one of those logs that say that I can clean my chimney out using this log. What's your recommendation on that?
So they're okay. They're good. So they work on a chemical reaction. So they kind of turn the soot into an inert substance that shouldn't catch fire. It doesn't clean the chimney per se. It kind of just changes the soot's
Hmm.
chemical composition so it doesn't catch fire. But it's, like I say, it's a chemical reaction. So it's only going to go up about 8 foot into the chimney. It's not going to go all the way
Okay,
to the top.
right.
It's useful. It's not bad to use, and certainly if you're running a fireplace 24/7, like we used to sweep the chimneys in the Kananaskis Lodge, and they run their huge masonry fireplace there 24/7 in winter, and they
Okay,
use
yeah.
those logs regularly in between sweeps, just so they
Hmm.
don't get a chimney fire because they've had a couple. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
they're useful to have.
So if you are running your fireplace continually, how often would you say you need to have your chimney swept?
Well, Alberta Fire Code says it should be inspected annually. It doesn't necessarily mean it needs cleaning, but it should be inspected by someone who's certified and knows what they're
Sure.
looking at. And we're looking
Okay.
between 3 to 5 mil of soot to warrant a sweep. Um, and yeah, but we also offer another service which is chemical cleaning. which is when the soot gets really, really bad. So it kind of turns to like a tar-like substance. It's
Mhm.
very sticky, and it kind of drips like tar, on the road. It's like really bad. So even with a power brush, you won't get that soot off, but then you're in
Okay.
danger of that catching fire. So we actually have special system to clean all that back to brand new, but
Mhm.
it's a costly costly thing to do, but it's better than having a chimney fire.
Right, for sure. So, hypothetical situation for you: somebody's house, because chimney sweeps are, we'll state the obvious here. They're done to prevent fires in the chimney, fires in the house, fires from burning the entire house down. Now, in insurance cases, do insurance companies ever take into consideration a payout on a house that has burnt down, contingent on how many times they've swept the chimney?
Well, yeah. So insurance companies some of them are very good with a house fire, and they'll just pay out no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But some of them will stipulate that you should have a receipt at least once a year of the chimney being inspected or swept.
Right. Right.
And I would say that that's happening more often than it used to. So it's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
if you've got a wood burning appliance, they can, I'm not saying they always will, but they could have a little get out clause like, where's your receipt for having it inspected or checked, or swept even in the many years that you've had it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you wouldn't want to play that kind of Russian roulette with the insurance company.
No, exactly. And there is a lot of fine print a lot of times with insurance companies, depending on who you use. And sometimes people are shopping around. They're looking for a cheaper insurance company. And sometimes the cheaper isn't always the better, right? So,
no, that's
Par,
right.
is there anything else that you'd want to leave the listener with when it comes to what you do in your line of work and sweeping chimneys?
Just that, it's always good if you've never had your chimney inspected or looked at, to get someone with the expertise to come out and have a look at it for you. Even if you've not used it, but you're thinking of using it, we can always show you the best way to use it and the most efficient way to use it, so that you'll get the best use out of it. And it's just a safety issue as well, because some people, they buy a house, they don't realize that someone's put a mantel shelf right close to the opening of the fireplace, and they're there happily burning away and not realizing that they could at any point set their house alight. So it's good to have that safety, there, just for the sake of us coming out for a call out charge or whatever. So yeah.
For sure. What's the best wood to burn in a fireplace? I'm
Birch,
sure
if you
there's
can
some.
get it. It's very hard to get hold of birch, because obviously everyone tries to get it. Any kind of hardwood is good as well. You want to stay away from the sappy woods, anything like that. Damp wood is always very bad. Will create a quick build-up of soot and give you a cold fire, and it won't draw properly either. So it's really important to have good, clean wood.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Par, thanks for your time today. And
you're very welcome. Thank you for having me on your
I
show.
find it fascinating that many people are starting to go back to the old school wood burning fireplace, but it makes sense, right? If you can get
well,
wood,
if you're
you
on
have
an
access to
acreage,
wood.
and if you're on an acreage, sometimes you get power cuts. Out here in Brant, we get power cuts now and again. And if you've got a wood burning fireplace, that means, that can be the difference between your pipes bursting or not bursting, so
yes, for
you're
sure.
kind of in control then.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Well, thank you, my friend. Nice chatting with you today. And we will chat very soon.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Carl. Thank you. Bye-bye.